Welcome. Welcome, all of you gloriously, uniquely beautiful women out there. I'm delighted you're here today. This is Susan Bock. Welcome to Fabulous Feature Friday. And it is a fabulous Friday. I hope you had a great weekend, that you're looking forward to an even better weekend. Excitement, energy, anticipation, expectation. Great words, great energetic words. And I am super stoked today. Can't tell you exactly why. I'm just really up, which is fabulous. I love being in this space. There might be some contributing factors, one of which I was super excited about this call today, because the topic for our call today is 100% about you. Yes, you. That's a great topic, isn't it? Today is the opportunity that I chose to take to talk to you about being more of who you are, about exploring and embracing and expanding all of who you are, discovering your uniqueness, identifying what incredible combination of talents, attributes, skills, gifts, whatever you choose to call it, all of those marvelous components of you that make you who you are. It took me years, truthfully, decades, before I could embrace my uniqueness. Because I wasn't able to do so, or didn't know how, or didn't know what my uniqueness was, I spent years trying to be someone I wasn't. Years trying to meet the expectations that others set for me. Striving to achieve a level of success or goals that I inherited from others, knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously. There's been a lot of conversation in recent years about limiting beliefs and this mental chatter that goes on in our head nonstop 24/7. I want to focus on that just for a minute, but from a little different perspective. The limiting beliefs that we have, and we all have them, were put upon us in very early formative years of our life. We did not come into this world with limiting beliefs. They were layered upon us. Some of which over time we chose to embrace and seek reinforcement for why that belief was true. Others we may have dismissed as, no, that just is not something that I can believe in or that I believe about myself. The point being that we have choices about what we believe. My invitation for you today is twofold. Number one is to set aside some time to go within and explore some limiting beliefs that you may be aware of or that you may not be aware of, that could be in fact influencing your decisions, the actions that you take, and yes, the results that come as a result of the action that you take or don't take, whatever the case might be. So I want to start off with a question. For those of you who have been following me for some time, you know that I am all about questions. That's why one of my clients years ago dubbed me the queen of questions. And yes, she gave me a crown. So I actually have a crown to prove that I am a queen. But the question is this: if you had the answer to one question that would make a difference in your life today, tomorrow, next week, next year, what is that one question? What is the one question that you could seek an answer to that would take you closer to knowing who you are? Pardon me, sharing your gifts with the world. One step closer to accepting yourself. One step closer to living a life that you want to live, that you've dreamed of living. or as I like to say, having a business and a life you love. And yes, you can have both. Absolutely. Thankfully, I do today. I have both. It was a journey to get here, without a doubt. It did not happen overnight. But the first question that I asked myself when I was on this quest to, I'll say, get better acquainted with who I was. That question was, what is my definition of of success? So I will ask you, what is your definition of success? Mine used to be the big house, the fancy car, all the trappings that go along with that. And as I achieved that level of success, I felt emptier and emptier inside. I also discovered that I was putting success into the future, that eventually I would achieve it. However, once I would achieve whatever that level of success was that I had defined, I found myself striving for more. So what's the next thing that I want? It was always in the future. So when I was able to come up with my definition of success and create a definition that was the totality of me, not just about business, it was about the way I lived, my lifestyle, about my health and well-being, emotional health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, all of the aspects of my life were included in my definition of success. The other decision I made, as I was creating that, was that I no longer wanted success to be something in the future. I wanted to live success every day. How's that? I wanted success every day. I wanted to live in the emotional state of being successful. I wanted to live in the energetic space that I would feel when I am successful. Does that mean that I am going to achieve success in all levels of my life every day? Absolutely not. That would be an unrealistic expectation. Yes, I spent a great deal of time living in that space as well. Today, I live in very realistic expectations. But making those two decisions, those two definitions, defining what success means to me, and making the decision that I wanted to experience success every day in some aspect of my life, that was the pivotal moment. That's when things began to shift for me, because my mindset changed. I was now pursuing something that was completely aligned with me, with my core, with my spirit, with my soul, with my uniqueness, with my intuition, and yes, with my belief system. So that's my invitation to you today. And my first one is to define what success means to you, and to ask yourself, do you want to live in success every day, or do you want success to be in the future? The next question that I would like to share with you is one that was very impactful for me. It's in conjunction with, if you had the answer to this one question, how would your life be different? Next question in line of that is, if you had the answer, what would you do differently? What action would you take? How would your attitude change? How would your behavior and your beliefs change if you had that one answer? Think about that. In the quiet moments, few and far, that we may have, think about it as you're sitting at a stoplight. Rather than getting agitated about having to sit at a stoplight, go within. Be open to receiving the messages from your intuition. Here's one valuable tip I'll share with you that I've learned over the years is my intuition has never lied to me. Never. Now, certainly I have made decisions that were not, not listening to what my intuition was saying, decisions that I certainly came to regret. That was a mind decision. It was not an intuitive decision. Big difference. We spend so much time in our mind thinking about all the things we have to do, our obligations, our commitments. We're juggling so many different hats, going in a multitude of directions. We live in our head. So part of what I had to do in my transformation and in my transition was to go within in my body, to feel the energy, to see where I was feeling tension or anxiety or stress, to feel how my body was responding to things and to pay attention to that. That was a skill that I had to learn because it was not something that came easily to me. I learned how to pay attention to my body. Our society, sadly, celebrates mental activity, mental achievements, mental thinking, discoveries, which are certainly very important. Equally important, I believe, is the physicalness that we bring into this world and how we can experience the messages that our body is sharing with us, because it is a treasure trove of information if we choose to tune into it. Just like our intuition, if we choose to tune into it, it is an incredible resource for us. So here's my next question for today. What resources are available to you that you may not be taking advantage of? These could be internal resources, could be external. What resources are available to you that you could take advantage of, that could help you get closer to discovering this answer to the question that you long for, discovering how you can have a business and a life you love, discovering what success means to you? What resources are available to you? Very cool, very exciting. Okay, let's shift gears just a bit. Another thing right now that I'm really excited about is that I have a virtual workshop coming up. And oh my gosh, there's just so much in this workshop. I can hardly contain myself. As you can tell, I'm pretty excited. What do I love about this workshop is that this was yet another step that I took in discovering how I could have a business and a life I love. And that is to design a business model that works for me, that emphasizes my strengths, my skills, my gifts, my expertise, and yes, my uniqueness. So what is a business model? Business model basically is, very simply, it's how your business is going to make money. It's the value that you're providing to your clients and customers and how you are going to monetize that, how you're going to generate an income. Very simple. Now, for years, I poo-pooed business plans, business models. I thought, I am a solopreneur. I don't need a business model. I don't need a business plan. I just completely dismissed them. What I came to learn was that that was a big mistake. Even though I said I did not have a business model and didn't need one, I had one by default. I had created a business model that I was using that quite honestly was not working well because it did not serve me. Here's the discovery I made. I was working for my business rather than my business working for me. So when I discovered the value of having this business model that was aligned with me, with my definition of success, with my lifestyle, with my skills, with my natural skills and ability, so that I could spend more time doing what comes effortlessly and naturally to me, that's when my business made the turnaround. That's when things shifted for my business. That's when I started experiencing the results that I had longed for. And that's when I started having a business and a life I could love. Bottom line, what that meant is I spent less time working and I actually made more money. Go figure. Contrary to what I believed, again, my belief, limiting belief was I needed to work harder when I wasn't getting the results I wanted. I needed to put in more time. I needed to create more products or services. I needed to market differently, on and on and on. So I ended up working more and more and more, harder and harder, having less time to enjoy life, less time to live, less time in the space and energy where I was in my brilliance, in my genius, in my uniqueness. So the result was I was frustrated, disappointing results, working way too hard, and my self-confidence was in a free fall. That was not a pretty picture. Not one that I would care to repeat again, and thankfully I won't have to, because I discovered this model has 9 components, 1 sheet of paper, very simple, easy to use, and it gave me the confidence and the clarity and the focus to know exactly what I needed to do to build a business that was lucrative, that was survivable and sustainable. 2 words, survivable and sustainable. So that's what the workshop's about. And sharing this with women who, like me, were working way too hard for disappointing results, and that are willing to step into their uniqueness and monetize it so that you're doing what you love to do every day. That's what I'm super passionate about. It's just really cool. So actually this workshop that I'm doing in creating your unique business model is one component of the VIP immersion, which is my signature program. That's where we spend 2.5 days immersed in your business, and we do everything from start to finish so that you have a business, product, services, you know how it's going to be marketed, you know where you're going to be marketing it and how. You have a plan. It's all done for you at the end of these 2.5 days. It's very cool. You can find out more about that on my website, susanbock.com. Would love for you to check it out. And yes, there's a free gift for you if you choose to. So that's very cool. The next thing, I have to check my list here because I'm just so excited. I want to make sure I get everything covered. On our call next week is Shelley Southall. Shelley is one of our group members who has such a special story. I love stories. Don't we all love stories? Stories with happy endings. She is an inspiration to me in so many ways. She and her husband have had their videography business for several years. It's a great partnership, not only in their personal life, but professionally. Great example for many of my clients to see how you could integrate the personal and professional life, the business partners, while you're being personal partners, I guess that would be right. Anyway, I'm struggling here. So Shelley's going to be with us next week, so please tune in for that as she talks to you about her passion, her business, which is maintaining weight loss after bypass surgery, weight reduction surgery. She is 15 years post-surgery, and what an amazing story. You may have seen some of her YouTubes. Just a really cool, one of those uniquely, gloriously fabulous women that I've had the pleasure of getting to know and meet and work with over the years. So be sure and join us next week for Shelley. The next thing I would like to talk about is expectations. The roles that we have chosen in our life, and yes, we did choose them, come with obligations, responsibility, and yes, expectations. Oftentimes the expectations we set for ourselves are, sadly, a bit unrealistic. So expectations. Society tells us, culture tells us that we always need to be striving for more, doing more, being more. We're so busy doing everything that we just don't have any time to be. My suggestion for you when you're setting your expectations is to use this guideline, this tool. Pardon me, I have allergies today. And here's the tool. We spend our everyday lives in what most people refer to as our comfort zone. I take exception to that. I'm going to push back a little bit. I don't like the word comfort zone because for myself, I can look at times in my life when I would say, yes, that's my comfort zone. However, I was not comfortable. It was not in alignment with who I was. It was not feeling right. And yet I was in that zone. So what I've come to refer to this is the accustomed zone. We are accustomed to something. We're incredibly resilient, incredibly adaptable human beings. We can become accustomed, but that does not mean that we like it or that we're comfortable. So when you're setting expectations from your accustomed zone, what I suggest is that you look at a couple of alternatives. You could set a goal. Let's say that my accustomed zone is for walking 20 minutes a day. I might want to have a goal of walking for 2 hours a day or exercising for 2 hours a day. To go from 20 minutes to 2 hours is not realistic. I could do damage to myself physically. I have time constraints. I don't necessarily have the ability right now to include that into my daily calendar and meet all the other obligations and responsibilities that I have. There's all sorts of external events and pressure and circumstances as well as internal that will prevent us from achieving that goal. We can set a shorter goal, and let's say maybe for the next 2 weeks, I want to walk for 30 minutes a day. Now it's going to get me closer to my goal of 2 hours, but I'm going to do it incrementally in small steps. So if I start from my accustomed zone and I add 10 minutes a day to my walking schedule, that puts me into what I refer to as the stretch zone. Stretch. It's doable. It's expanding the boundaries. It's achievable. I can accommodate 10 minutes a day without imposing or preventing me from achieving other obligations and commitments. Over time, I can add 10-minute increments and be able to accommodate it within my schedule. So that puts me into the stretch zone. If we make too big of a goal, if we set our expectations too high, it puts us into what I call the stress zone. And that sets us up for failure. We are doomed. When we are in the stress zone, our natural defense mechanisms kick in and just start kicking and screaming, sabotaging our results, sabotaging our ability to achieve the goal that we've set. It's just too much. It's too big. Too much for the system to grasp, too much for our calendar to be able to accommodate. Again, there's all sorts of pressures and influences internally and externally. So as you set your expectations, move into your stretch zone. Stay out of the stress zone. If you feel you're in the stress zone right now, then I would suggest that you ask yourself, what could you cut back on? What could you perhaps reduce or even remove from your calendar, from your schedule, from your commitments, so that you are not stressed? Because when we live in stress, we are just inviting all sorts of challenges and problems to not only to our health, mental and physical, spiritual well-being, certainly diminishes our energy, and it puts us in a feeling of less than, of not being enough, of not being able to. And that erodes your self-confidence. It's very devious, and it happens. So please be aware of moving into a stretch zone, not a stress zone. Moving into the space and the energy where you can learn more about yourself, how you can monetize your uniqueness, embracing your uniqueness. That would put you into the stretch zone. Saying that you're going to monetize your uniqueness, completely revamp your business, and do all of this within the next 3 weeks would put you perhaps into the stress zone. Don't want you to go there. I want you to be successful. I want you to feel good about who you are and how you show up in the world and how you feel about yourself. If you're like me, you may not like the way your body looks right now. I certainly don't like the way mine looks. However, I am very grateful that it is working for me. I am very grateful that I have the opportunity to make some changes to adjust so that I can, in fact, get closer to what I would like to look like. I have to do that slowly. I want to stay in my stretch zone, not in my stress zone. One final comment that I'd like to share with you today. I was in a conversation with a client yesterday, and we were talking about change and how change can be so disruptive, and even changing our beliefs is very disruptive because, again, it takes us out of our accustomed zone. It changes our thinking. So the book I shared with her is one that made such an impact on me, is called Transitions by William Bridges. It's a beautiful book, and it takes the concept of change and gave me a whole different understanding and a different perspective of how to look at change. According to Bridges, there's 3 stages to change. The first stage is something ends. Something ends. There is an event. A relationship ends. A job ends. A child goes off to college. Something ends. Now that end could be a decision you make that you're going to change a belief. A decision that you make that you're going to discover your uniqueness and learn how you can monetize that. A decision to take a class, learn something that you've been, make time for a hobby. Something ends. And the second stage of change is the neutral zone. And this is where, I'm a Star Trek fan, so I love the neutral zone. And this is where we are in between what used to be, and yet not quite firmly entrenched in what can be. It's also when we're at the most vulnerable. When we are creating a new habit, it takes attention, intention, and attention to create a new habit, to do things differently, to behave differently, to believe differently. The neutral zone is when we are most vulnerable to returning to what we are accustomed to. The third and final stage of change is the beginning. This is when something new is happening. It's a new chapter, a new discovery, a new way of behaving, of believing, of interacting, a new way of thinking of yourself and of your business. It's the beginning. It's exciting. It's exhilarating. And it's also a little bit frightening because it's new. It's different for us. We don't know exactly what it's going to be. However, the opportunity is that it will be bigger, better, and brighter than what our past has been. The beginning. That's what we have today. Today, you can make a decision for a new beginning. That's my invitation. And I'm going to go full circle now back to the question that I asked at the beginning of the call, which is, if you could answer one question that would give you the opportunity to live the life and have the business that you want, what is that one question? If you had the answer to that question that would make a difference in your life, what is the question? That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm thrilled that you're here. I love Fabulous Feature Fridays. And be sure to tune in next week when we join with Shelley Southall. Until then, loving your life and your business and your fabulously, gloriously unique self. Bye for now.